Hi there guys, welcome to part 2 of the little Nellie build, and we're at the stage where I'm now ready for prime of the kit parts. The sprues have been washed, cleaned and dried to make sure there's no remaining release agent on them, and as you can see down here on the bench we have pretty much everything prepped, just a couple of items that need to be pegged and pinned, ready for priming. And this particular kit has taken a lot of prep work, much more than I thought it would initially, although I knew that there was a lot of flash on various parts of it. Things to mention so far, what have we got? The rocket pod launchers. These are the ones that go on the front, on the side of the body, like so. and these were inaccurate according to the ones in the movie, which were just a simple hollow tube really, if you look at the ones in the film. And these had a lump on the bottoms of them, which you can see I've filled a little down here. If I can, there's still a bit of a sink mark on that, but you can see that. And these had a lump on there, and another part, which is this here. Let me focus on that so you can see it, and I'll explain what this was for. This part here fitted to a pivot point on the lump, and this hooked portion was fitted sort of underneath it. And this was obviously designed in such a manner that you would be able to put something like a pen spring on this lump at the back here, and then this little hook portion would hold the rockets that come supplied with the kit inside, and pressing this would disengage it and allow you to actually fire the rockets, which is kind of cool in a toy sense, and it's the kind of thing I would have loved if I built it as a kid. But because I want it to be more movie accurate, and it's obviously going to be a static display model, I wanted these to look like the ones from the film rather than something that they're not. So these are the rockets that you would build, and you can see how this nose cone here would go onto here and leave a notch for that little hook to catch onto. So I won't be building those, they'll just be sitting aside. I've got no use for those because they're not accurate to the movie anyway. But what I do need to do is find some way, once these have been prepped properly, I need to find some way of putting an insert in there that replicates the multi-rockets that are actually in the film. So I don't know how I'm going to do that yet. And the other thing to mention is I built the pod that goes on the front of little Nellie, and this has to be pre-assembled so you can get rid of this seam line that runs down the middle, which is very, very evident. And obviously the one in the film, it doesn't have a seam line that runs down the middle. So this has to be reassembled, but this in itself creates a problem because this portion slots inside, and the landing gear for the nose, the oleo for the nose wheel, pops through that little hole down there. And obviously because it's got the ridges in, it won't go through that hole. So I've got two options to make this work, and it is going to be entirely dependent, I think, on whether this fits. I think, yeah, I could actually get that to fit through that way. So I'm either going to drill this hole out a little deeper, which will enable me to push the whole lot through, and then just glue the main spar in place on the pod, or nip off or saw off the oleo just above that second ridge line. I'll just focus that in for you. So if I cut or saw that off just above that second ridge line on the leg there, then I'll be able to pop that through the hole and then glue this back on. But I don't know how strong that will be. I don't know how well it will hold if I do that. And although it's not really going to have a lot of weight on it, it might mean that I can knock the front wheel and ping it off too easily, I don't know yet. So again, that's something I will think about while I prep the parts, get them ready and primed. Other than that, everything else is relatively straightforward. I've made as many sub-assemblies as possible. So I've got the engine shrouds, for example, here. And on this one here, I've got the fuel tank and the main upright spar that the large rotor blades sit on. The fuel tank is painted in the same body colour as this, but I should be able to easily mask and paint that, even though this is assembled as a sub-assembly. And that's pretty much as I've got done at the moment. I might be able to assemble a little bit more after I've got it primed, before I go on to proper paint, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes. So at this point, everything's sort of cleaned up. As I say, there's been a lot of clean up and it's now ready for primer, so I'm going to go ahead and get these primed. You can see there in the drying box, which for those who don't know is just a plastic tub with a modified carrier bag that I use as a dust cover while the initial coat dries. There in the drying box we've got the primed parts. I'm not 100% happy with the fuselage, nose cone, whatever you want to call it. I'm not sure what you'd actually call that, the little pod that sits on the front that your feet sit in with the controls. Not 100% happy with that. That's still got a couple of noticeable lines that I'm going to need to refill, resand and reprime to get that reasonably smooth. But the rest of the parts are looking quite good and they're sitting there in primer. So the next step will be refilling, resanding and repriming the little body tub bit, but possibly some paint for some of the smaller pieces. We'll see if we do that before or after I do the body tub bit. So that's where we're at the moment. So thank you for watching.